Hey now, Joe Lesky. I play piano, you want to play piano, let's do this. In today's video, we're going to go through 3 different versions of Carol of the Bells: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Feel free to play these however you want. You don't have to play them exactly as I do. Make changes, make it your own. First up, beginner version. As you've noticed, we're only going to be playing the first chunk of the song. We're not going to go through the more complicated middle section in this beginner version. We are going to add the ending, so we put a nice cap to our performance. We're going to start with our right hand, and we have 2 different 5-finger scale positions. Thumb on G, and thumb on A. We're going to put our 4th finger on C, 3rd finger on B, and 2nd finger on A, and those are all the notes that we're playing. C, B, C, A. C, B, C, A. Again, with our 4th, 3rd, 4th, 2nd finger. Now when we move to the 2nd position, we put our thumb on A, and we're only going to be playing E, D, E, A. With our 5, 4, 5, 1. So putting that all together with just our right hand, we go C, B, C, A, C, B, C, A, C, B, C, A, C, B, C, A. We do that pattern 3 different times, and then we add our ending. E, D, E, A. So we have 2 different 5-finger scale positions. Moving over 1 note as we switch them. We stay at the beginning one for the first 3 phrases, and we move to the second one for that final ending phrase. Moving on to our left hands, we also have 2 different 5-finger scale positions. We have our pinky on D and our pinky on A. With our left hand, we have a little bit different of a pattern. We descend from A, G, F, E, then go back to F, then down E, D, and hop back up to A. That looks like this. Also important to note here is that we don't start with our left hand until we do a full repetition of those 4 measures doing C, B, C, A with our right hand. Wrapping up the song with our left hand, we do the exact same thing as the right hand, but the fingering is just going to be the inverse. E, D, E, A, but with 1, 2, 1, 5. Putting everything together, it looks like this. 5-finger scale positioning in our right hand with our thumb on G, 5-finger scale positioning with our left hand starting on D, and we go. Move. And that's all for our beginner version. Make sure you go slowly, know what notes you're playing, and most importantly, have fun. And now, onto the intermediate version. For the intermediate version, we get to play the entire song, so you can repeat as many verses as you'd like to, adding different variations as you choose. We're also going to be adding the use of the sustain pedal, of course, only when appropriate. In this intermediate version, the left hand is going to be playing mostly block chords, and the right hand is mostly going to be playing the melody with some harmony here and there. As we go through this, feel free to add octaves, different harmonies, fuller chords as you choose if you want to embellish anything as we go through. So let's get into this intermediate version. So we start the same exact way as we did with the beginner version, except this time we add the sustain pedal. I like accumulating this sound, so adding the sustain pedal gives me that. Now, we add the left hand the same way as we did in the beginner version, except this time, when we get to the F, we're going to add the third as we go down. And then go to the 5 chord. A5, not E7. So, we have add the thirds, end with A5. Moving on to the next section, we really have to make sure we pay attention to the chord progression. We start with the 4 chord, then the 1 chord, back to the 4 chord, back to the 1 chord. Then we have A5, then we do A with an F sharp, so that's an A5 add sharp 6, and then an A minor 7 without the 3rd and the 5th, and then we go back to A5. We're really trying to go for that more hollow, spooky, ethereal sound, and those 5 chords really help to achieve that. So here we go. Starting with the 4 chord in our left hand, I like doing this in first inversion, so D minor starting on F, going to A, going to the 4 chord, D, going back to the 1 chord, A minor. Now we add this, A5, A and F sharp, so that sharp 6th, A and G, so that A minor 7, and back to the A5. When we add the right hand, which is doing the same thing, after one phrase, now we add the thirds here. Make sure you change the pedal after each one of these, because the chords are changing in the left hand. It'll get really muddy if you don't. Thirds tend to be pretty tricky, so try this out. 3-5, 2-4, 1-3, 2-4, 3-5, 2-4, 1-3. Just get used to this, and then play it slowly in the correct order. Altogether, this middle part looks like this. In this next section, it's really important that you know what notes you're playing and have a fingering that's going to work for you. Here's an example. We start on A, and we're going all the way down to the tonic again. But the fingering depends on what you're comfortable with. Here's what I would recommend. So going through that, we stay in our 5-finger shape and then just move it down once we get to this area. So we're gonna go 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, and then I put my 3rd finger cross over on the C, 3, then we're here, ready for D, 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 E, D, C, B, C, A. So the fingering all together goes like this. 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. Our right hand has enough going on that we don't need to do an overly complicated left hand. We're just going A minor, D minor in 2nd inversion, back to A minor. Altogether, that section looks like this. Moving on to this final section, it's just an E major scale on the right hand, but without having a sharp C or a sharp D at the top. That looks like this. right hand has so much going on again, we're going to keep the left hand simple and just play some variation of E dominant 7. E, G sharp, B, and D. Altogether, this section goes like this. For this final section, we're going to go out nice and gently, so we're not doing anything crazy. All we're doing is A minor triad in the left hand, moving the bass A, G, F, E, and then an A5 chord at the bottom, and right hand does the melody as simply as it gets. The ending, just like the beginner version, except we end with an A5 chord. Again, for this intermediate section, you have more tools to play with than the beginners do, so feel free to add octaves, different harmonies, and embellished chords where you see fit. And finally, onto the advanced version. This version is all about contrast, so start softly and simply. Again, mind the chord progression, add some sevenths, add some augmented triads, do your thing, make it your own, and really have fun with this. We're also going to be ending with an A5 chord. We don't want to add the third because that takes away from the feel that we're trying to establish. So let's get into it. I'm starting, as usual, with the beginner version. Here is where we make our first change. We're going to do sixths in the right hand. I never have a good time saying sixths, sixths. Such a tough word. So with the right hand, we're going to go. It's tricky because we're just moving our pinky with no other fingers going on there, and our thumb with no other fingers, so it's kind of tough. You just have to get used to moving that shape around and not making mistakes. We also change our left hand by just making it octaves. In this next section, we go D minor, A minor, D minor, A minor. The right hand does the same thing, sticking with those sixths. Whatever inversions you want in the left hand, but I like having that F root, that A root, keeping the A root and adding the F, and then back to that E. When we add the thirds in the right hand, we make sure that our left hand is still staying hollow, A, E, A, F sharp, A, G, A, and then back to A, E, A. This next section is probably my favorite. We play first inversion triads the entire way. We're just keeping the melody on top, so it goes like this. Again, this is going to be kind of tricky because we have no black keys to kind of help us out, and we also have the same shape, we're just moving it up and down the keys, kind of like the beginning of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Luckily, we're keeping our left hand kind of simple, so we can do this more accurately. For this next section, I decided to go scale the first time, octave scale the second time, keeping the left hand pretty simple. You can do whatever you want in this section, but make sure you end going E, G sharp, which would take us nicely into that A. Now when we end, this is probably the toughest part of the whole thing. We go C, E, C, and we're doing these thirds with the octave above it. If you want to simplify this, just go back to the sixth that we were doing before and do it up an octave. It also sounds nice and holiday-y, but I like, a little bit more fancy. And with the left hand, again, keep it simple. All together, that looks like this. For this last part, we're just playing the melody, but we're staggering octaves up and doing it. I choose to do that an octave higher because it adds just a little bit of that chimey sound that I'm going for, but feel free to do it an octave lower. And most importantly, we end with the absolute lowest note on the piano, A5. It's got such a cool sound. So that final bit goes like this. The dramatic hold at the end really adds something to the performance, but it is optional. As always, I cannot stress this enough. Know what notes you're playing. It is so vitally important to your development as a pianist, and it will really help you come up with cool arrangements like these. So if you learned something today or like what you saw, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date on what comes out next. That said, I've been Joe Lesky, you've been great, and we'll see you next time.